watching WSBT Channel 22 News at 11.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Suzanne Spencer. Rick has the night off. Well, a big day in Nashville. Notre Dame took on LSU in the Music City Bowl. It came down to a last-second play. WSBT 22 Sports Director Pete Byrne breaks it down.
What a thoroughly entertaining way. The Irish are victorious, 31-28 over LSU. Pete Byrne, WSBT 22 Sports.
Hundreds of local Notre Dame football fans who couldn't make it down to Nashville to see the game in person packed area bars and restaurants to watch it. WSBT 22's James Fillmore is at the live desk. Now, James, you actually got a chance to watch the game with some people.
Yeah, it certainly was an exciting game, Suzanne. Coming up.
Thanks, Matt. The names of the state police officer and Plymouth police officer involved in a shooting in the Plymouth Kmart parking lot are expected to be released tomorrow. Police have identified the man shot by police as 33-year-old Lane Dodson. Police say he was shot after he raised a gun to the officers. Dodson is in the hospital with multiple gunshot wounds. His condition, though, is unknown at this point. Investigators say the officers stopped him in the Kmart parking lot to question him about a domestic incident he was allegedly involved in. Police say Dodson did not fire his weapon. The officers were not injured. Well, police in Idaho say a 2-year-old boy accidentally shot and killed his mother. Police say the boy reached into the mother's purse for her concealed gun and fired in an Idaho Walmart. The 29-year-old woman was shopping with several children this morning. Officials say she had a concealed weapons permit. The woman's identity has not yet been released. Police do say, though, the shooting was accidental. No one else was injured in this shooting. Well, new at 11, the holidays are a time for giving. But what about after? Some local charities say they've seen a drastic decrease in donations after Christmas. The executive director of the Mishawaka Food Pantry says a third of their total budget is collected in the last 3 months of the year. He says January is the worst month for the year for donations, and really February isn't much better. The South Bend Center for the Homeless Shelter says for them, donations decline a little later in the year.
It's mostly when the weather starts changing.
South Bend Animal Care and Control says they don't necessarily see a decrease. Things just pretty much go back to normal after the holidays. Some area organizations do also see a decrease, though, in the number of volunteers after the end of the year. Well, police are investigating a string of break-ins at the Patridge Woods subdivision in Granger. Police say there have been 3 in December alone. They say the burglars typically break in when no one is home, then wind up stealing cash or jewelry and leave quickly. Obviously, this has many neighbors very concerned. Police say, though, simply being more vigilant could go a long way towards solving this problem.
Certainly the best advice still.
While police acknowledge the string of break-ins does represent a slight increase in crime, they say the neighborhood is still very safe and that there is no reason to panic. This weekend's shooting death at Cedar Glen Apartments has drawn attention back to a place that used to have a reputation for being a trouble spot. Just 2 years ago, it was called the Courtyard Place Apartments. Police say they received calls there about 3 times every single day. Most of those were considered nuisance calls for things like loud noises, partying, shots fired, or fighting. The city's Common Council worked with police to enact a chronic problem property ordinance, saying that since the ordinance, though, management has changed and so has the police presence.
This year alone, I averaged out, it went from 100 calls a month now.
The new ownership took over about a year and a half ago. They kicked out half of the tenants, invested over $1 million in physical improvements, and implemented background checks and screenings for all tenants. Well, nearly 24 hours from New Year's and New Year's resolutions. What you need to know about weight loss supplements if you're trying to lose weight in 2015.
For potentially heavy lake effect snow, of course, that's a week out. But nonetheless, with air that cold and some extra water up there in the sky, that could pump out some good lake snow. So we'll have to keep our eye on that and some accumulating snow this weekend if you're traveling.
Absolutely. And again, we haven't seen temperatures this low really yet this season so far since about, what, last year? Is that about right?
Yeah, since February. And this will be the coldest that you've seen it here, right?
Absolutely.
So she's from Lafayette.
I am.
2 hour north is going to shock her.
I'm excited for it. Thank you, Matt.
Sure.
Well, Compton Ice Arena wasn't full of Notre Dame hockey players tonight. Instead, it was full of families listening to music from, you can probably guess it, the movie Frozen. frozen for a public skate event. If you didn't make tonight's skate, though, don't worry. You can still head to Compton Arena at 2 p.m. on Friday. The Notre Dame Leprechaun will be making an appearance, and the Irish Figure Skating Club will also have lessons starting January 16th. Well, with temperatures dropping, we'll tell you what you need to do to keep yourself safe. Matt mentioned cold temperatures in his forecast, and whether you like it or not, they're here to stay. But what can you do to prevent cold weather injuries? Emergency room physician Dr. Nate Johnson warns that frostnip actually comes before frostbite. Dr. Johnson added that both alcohol and nicotine may hinder a person's capacity to stay warm. He mentioned some tips for healing overexposed skin.
You want to avoid.
If you lose sensation or blood flow to an area, or if it starts turning black or discolored, doctors say these are warning signs and you should be concerned. You should absolutely consult a medical professional. Well, 5 people have died in Indiana from the flu. The state health department released those numbers right before Christmas. Health officials stress it's still important, though, to get a flu shot, even though this year's vaccine is not a perfect match for all strains of the flu. They say it can still help lessen the severity if you get it. And now, because of the flu, several area hospitals have put restrictions in place to keep it from spreading. You can see all of those there: Memorial, Elkhart General, St. Joe Regional Medical Center, and IU Health Centers in Goshen, LaPorte, and Stark County all have those visitor restrictions in place, which basically means they're really not letting in people under the age of 18 or visitors who are sick to go visit those patients. Well, many people make a New Year's resolution to drop some pounds. A new Consumer Reports survey says about a quarter of them will use weight loss supplements. It surveyed 3,000 people and found just 9% of supplement users said they did meet those weight loss goals and kept the pounds off, but a lot more got results that they didn't want.
About half of the people
say those looking for a more natural way to shed the extra weight should reach for healthy food instead of a supplement. Instead of supplementing that with some exercise, they say if you start to experience any side effects after taking weight loss supplements, to stop using them immediately. Well, sports is next. Notre Dame hoops highlights, plus the Fighting Irish needed some late game heroics to beat LSU in the Music City Bowl. Sports director Pete Byrne will have much more on Notre Dame's close win from Nashville coming up.
Wins all around for the Irish tonight.
Absolutely.
I just can't get over the way they ended that season.
It was great to see Pete and Carl down there doing a lot of work for
Definitely.
us.
They do such a great job, and it gave us some great stuff, great footage.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Matt is next. Matt sure is getting chilly out there.
Yeah, it's pretty cold by some people's standards. Tonight it's going to be chilly with temperatures. Anything past 2 weeks is free game. We'll see what happens.
All right, well, thank you. Dave has Chris Rock tonight, and join Bob, Leon, and Carrie for WSBT 22 first thing in the morning starting at 5 o'clock. And always check our website at WSBT.com. Thanks for joining us.